Hello and welcome to the show. Thank you so much for tuning in. I am super excited to be here. I want to hear from you where you're watching from. There's a whole lot of different platforms where you can join this evening. Maybe not even this evening. Maybe where you're watching from is daytime. Maybe you've just finished your last coffee for the day. Wherever you are, please give me a shout out. Here's to South Africa. How's it? How's everyone doing? Howdy to everyone who's tuning in. Thank you so much for being here with me this evening. Martin, hello. Greetings to you. Thank you so much for tuning in. I am here from South Africa, Johannesburg. It's, as you can see, rather cold and wintry. Wherever you're tuning in from, maybe you are in Moorlach and it's nice and summery. It's really nice to have the opportunity to reach out across all the platforms and to speak to so many people. My name is Nathalie. I am your host for this evening for this brand new show. And I thought just to get it started off with, I stop with all the waffling and so many words, and I'm going to quickly show you a little clip to introduce myself. I will see you just now after this. Photography is more than a part of my life. Sometimes I wonder if I chose it or if it chose me. Photography has always been around me. Already when I was born, my dad pointed his camera at me. He was a serious enthusiast. And when I was 8, he gave me my first camera. I still have it and the pictures that I took with it. I chose a career in tourism, but after a couple of years, I realized that it was really photography that I wanted to work in. I've been a professional for 11 years now, and I specialize in corporate, event, and portraiture photography. I'm a Fujifilm ex-photographer. I'm Nathalie Boucry, and photography is more than a part of my life. It is my life. And that's me. And I guess now that you've seen even baby pictures of me, we know each other really well already, and we can get cracking with the show. I am so excited about this, I can hardly contain myself. So excuse me if I mumble my words or whatever the case may be. But this show has been in the making for quite some time, and I'm really, really glad that we can finally kick it off. Just for a little bit of more background, I started a teaching series that I call Tame Your Fujifilm because I really passionate about photography. Like I said to you, it's my life. It really is. I cannot imagine how anyone can go through life without taking photographs, also personally, not just for work. And so for me, it's really important that whoever uses photography in their time has a good experience with that. So I want to make sure that your Fuji gear brings you joy as much as it does for me. And so I've developed a couple of teaching sessions to bring that a little bit closer. It's especially directed for your everyday photography, where you want to have a no-fuss experience, where you want to capture the moments and enjoy that rather than take away from the attention. Paula Rutherford says, hi from Chile Benoni. Hello, Paula. It's so nice to see you. It's really cold, but at the same time, there's Rallis who says, hello, everyone from Riverside, California. Well, thank you so much for tuning in, and good morning to you. Murray is here from Paris. That is fantastic. Please send me more comments. I really, it's so super nice to hear. There's someone from Ireland tuning in. It's David Boyd. Thank you so much for joining us today. This is really wonderful. I am excited that I'm able to reach out to so many people from all over the place. And that we can join here together. There's Renzo tuning in from New York. Renzo is heading up the 24-hour project. Thank you so much for tuning in, Renzo. It's really nice to have you with us today. And who else have we got? Give me a big shout out. Tell me where you're at and how excited you are. This show is really for you guys. I am really super excited because I want to start this journey with you. I want to bring you closer to straight out of camera. So the SOOC, for anyone who's not familiar with this expression, it means a straight out of camera, and that means we are focusing on creating images that you can use and be happy with, that you get straight out of your camera. You don't need to spend a lot of time editing them. It's JPEG straight out of camera. There's no raw files or Photoshop or anything of that sort involved. At least we want to slowly head in that direction. Not that I'm saying that there's anything wrong with raw files, and definitely nothing wrong with Photoshop, but I want us to shoot and create memories and photographs that we enjoy without spending time in the office. These days, we spend a lot of time in home offices, and we want to get away from that. So that's really what my driving force behind that is. And I've been working on that for quite some time, just a personal project of mine. And as it is, I in this journey, like so many of you that are watching today, I came across Fuji X Weekly and realized that this is an amazing resource, and that is clearly someone who is very passionate about Fujifilm, is very passionate about JPEGs, film, and just the look of what your images are, and just the whole experience of creating memories and capturing moments and your environment and your family. So I realized that, you know, I really resonate with a lot that he's doing, and I have not come across anyone who is more thorough in the work that he's doing. So so that gets me super excited. And I reached out to him, and we had a couple of chats and decided that we should embark on this crazy journey and collab together. So I don't want to hold up any longer. I want you guys to also meet Ritchie, the guy behind Fuji X Weekly, and here's a quick clip to introduce him. And this is what he is all about, this catchy intro. We obviously don't only have to satisfy ourselves with that. We will be speaking to the man himself just now. He's already waiting behind the scenes and very eager to also speak to everyone who's tuned in. We will show you another quick clip, and then we will be back and we will have Ritchie to chat to you guys.
Hey, Natalie. Hey, everybody out there.
Hello there, Ritchie. Thank you so much for being here this evening with us. Everyone, please say hello to Ritchie. You can send him some love in the comments. And if you're watching on Facebook, you can also, there's this hearts and thumbs up section. So give him a warm welcome and a round of applause. Ritchie, thank you so very much for being here with us today. It is absolutely phenomenal to have you here. DJ Impulse says hello from Baltimore.
Hi from Baltimore.
And we have Ultra Flash 1 from Maine. Thank you so much for
Hi, Ultra Flash.
Yeah, this is for you, Ritchie. Martin says Ritchie has almost single-handedly driven the Fujifilm community to embrace JPEGs. Fantastic resource.
Very kind words. Very kind. I appreciate it, Martin. I'm just happy to be helpful, and that's kind of what has driven me, not to get ahead of ourselves, but kind of what has driven me is with all this is to be a good resource for the photography community, and especially the Fujifilm community, because I love Fujifilm cameras.
It is, it's absolutely phenomenal. Dia says hello from Dubai. Hi, Dia. Thank you so much for joining us. And there we have Randy. Rich is the man. Thanks for the app.
You're welcome.
I'm there with everyone, and Martin as well. Love the app, absolutely. We will have a look at it in case you don't know about the app just yet. We will change your universe, trust me. Alex says, hi, Ritchie. Thanks for the Kodachrome 64 recommendation for my visit to Wimbledon last weekend. Worked a treat.
I'm so glad to hear that. Yeah, Alex had messaged me and asked for some recommendations, and so I was happy to provide him some direction. I'm glad it worked out.
Excellent. Well, there's all your fans there. There's Latrenia saying, hi, Ritchie from Florida. And Sudeb says, hi from India. Well, how is that? How is that? We are like reaching out to everyone everywhere. That is absolutely phenomenal.
It's worldwide. It really is.
There is Wayne Wright who says, hi, Ritchie. Thanks for all the hard work. Very inspiring.
Oh, well, I appreciate the kindness.
There is someone saying, hello from Rochester, home of Kodak.
It is.
Thank you so much for that. And who else is there? There's Rafis saying, you truly inspired me to really try and take more photos through the variety of film simulations.
Yeah, and something that's great about these film simulation recipes is that since it does free up more time, you can take more pictures.
Exactly, absolutely. Yep. So we haven't even started yet, and you've already touched so many people, and there's like so many fans out there. And yeah, they totally resonate with what my thoughts are on this. So I am so glad and happy that we have the opportunity to do more of that. And yeah, the point of today is really to get us going, to introduce everyone to the new concept that we have, but also to get a chance to learn a little bit more about you, because you are a very prolific writer, and you have a blog that is an absolute treat. So whoever has not yet embarked on reading Fuji X Weekly, I can only recommend it. It has taken over my bedtime reading because it is a wealth of information and inspiration. And before I go ahead with that, I wanted to ask you, Ritchie, straight out of camera, you are an expert on that. Is it really the bee's knees for you?
So I think in the early days of digital photography, the straight out of camera JPEG really got a bad rap, and it was because it wasn't very good. And the camera companies were using limited software, limited computing power. Fujifilm really embraced it, I think, and made it a priority to have good-looking JPEGs come out of camera. And you can tell just by shooting their cameras, just when you set it up to be JPEG, the results you get are really nice. So I think that it is kind of the bee's knees. There's different ways, there's no right or wrong way to do photography. And if you really love editing your pictures in Lightroom and stuff, that's wonderful. That's great. What works for you, that's what you want to do, is what works for you. But, Lightroom and sitting in front of a computer for hours editing pictures isn't for everyone. And that's kind of where having high quality JPEGs comes in. And Fujifilm made that possible just through their innovations.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of, sitting behind of the computer and editing a lot of images. So firstly, I wanted to say that I totally agree with you, what you're saying. And there's times where maybe you want to spend a bit more time for your pictures, but a lot of the times where you don't necessarily do. And I don't know if people are aware, but you are not a working photographer. You actually have a day job. So,
Yeah.
I'm saying that because I'm totally amazed that you have incredible time management discipline, clearly. Because you have a day job and you it is really it's really inspiring how you keep on keeping on. So yeah, I never thought
thank
that
you. I appreciate it. I appreciate the kindness. It is a lot of work, keeping up with the blog and doing all the photography, and I have a full-time job, and I have a family at home, and 4 kids, and a beautiful wife. So I want to shout out to them. Hi, Amanda. Hi, Joy. Hi, John. Hi, Josh. And hi, Joe. And they're watching. So anyway, yeah, see right there.
Thank you so much. Awesome. Hello. Thank you so much for
time
sharing
management.
Us.
I want to tell a quick story. There was a time I was shooting with a Sigma DP mirror camera. And I don't know how familiar people out there might be with those, but it's got the Foveon sensor, which has got the 3 layers, and you have to use their software, Sigma's software, in order to edit the pictures. You have to shoot RAW because the JPEGs aren't very good. And I was spending at least 30 minutes per picture, at least. And my wife can attest to this. And so much of my time was taken editing the pictures. But when I discovered that I could get great results out of camera with Fuji, and I didn't have to edit if I didn't want to, it just freed me up so much. So much of my time was freed up, and I was able to be so much more productive.
Yeah, phenomenal. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that with us. That is obviously, spending 30 minutes on a picture that is serious time put in, and now as you all will experience, or some of you already do know that that is a beautiful journey that we are all starting to take you on. I would like to know from you, what made you start Fuji X Weekly, the blog, how you got to, then even develop an app. What kicked this whole thing off for you?
So I had a photography blog, a different one, for a long time, and it never really became successful. There was one article that actually kind of went viral a little bit, and but it was about using a a coffee sleeve as a lens hood. And that's not, as a photographer, that's not anything you want to be known for. You don't want to be the coffee sleeve guy. So I tried with that blog to bring it to success, but no matter what I did, it didn't make it. And I realized that I was just going down the wrong path with that. And I ended that blog, and there was a little gap where I wasn't blogging. And another passion of mine besides photography is writing. And I needed a place where I could practice my writing skills and just express myself in that way. So I started Fuji X Weekly, which was originally a kind of long-term review of the Fujifilm X100F camera. That's kind of how it started. I started sharing my camera settings, and those articles took off. And so I focused it more on that, because that's what was helping people the most. As far as the app goes, my wife suggested that an app would be a good idea, that the film simulation recipes were great for an app, and we needed that. I started researching it, and it's a lot of work and a lot of money to put out an app. But one of the guys that's using the film simulation recipes, he loves Kodak Portra. He contacted me and he says, I'm an app developer and I'd love to help you with this. And we partnered together to put out the app, first for iOS, then it came out for Android.
Well, thank you so much for this, because I think it changed the world for a lot of people. And thank you so much for not wanting to be known as the coffee sleeve guy, and to and to embark on this amazing blog. I've said it before, but I want to say it again. Please, everyone who hasn't read, go ahead and read it. It is really wonderful, and you're in for a treat, and you will learn tons. Ritchie and I, we spoke a little bit about what we want to share with everyone, just to, introduce this whole journey, because people are obviously on different levels. Some people, have been shooting straight out of camera for a long time already. Others are like, what do you mean you shoot JPEGs and then you just have them straight out of camera? So just to get everyone a little bit on the same level, because like I said, this is really for everyone who's watching, because this is such a wonderful thing, such a wonderful journey, and it is would be cruel to keep it from anyone and everyone who wants to move on in their photography. So first of all, please do follow Ritchie on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, on Twitter. He's, on social media at Fuji X Weekly. And then follow his blog and subscribe, and make sure that you don't miss out on any articles. He is a prolific writer. And show him some love. So the photograph that we are looking at here is, like Ritchie said, it was one of his first milestones. We called it because it was a first step in the direction where he was researching into. But Ritchie, over to you. Don't you want to share a little bit about the background, what was happening when you took this photograph?
So prior to making film simulation recipes and that stuff, I was editing using Alien Skin Exposure and the Nik collection. And those were my primary photo editing softwares. I was editing, all my photos. I wasn't relying on the straight out of camera JPEG. And this picture, I was messing with the settings. The X100F was new to me, and I was shooting RAW plus JPEG. And I took the raw image of that picture, and I put it into the Alien Skin Exposure, and applied one of the Kodachrome presets, and it looks so much like the straight out of camera JPEG. I mean, they look really similar, and that was kind of the first clue for me that you could just rely on the straight out of camera JPEGs, because I was spending this time editing the pictures and getting it to look very similar to the straight out of camera JPEG. And I thought, well, why am I wasting all this time, you know, editing the picture just to make it look like the JPEG? So that picture is actually would become the classic Chrome film simulation recipe, the original classic Chrome. So that is one of the first 2 original film simulation recipes that I published.
Yeah, I really, really like that a lot. And there's also a black and white version that I think was developed at a similar time. Is that right, Ritchie?
Yes. So that the previous one was with classic Chrome. This one was with Acros. And what I kind of discovered with this one is that it looks similar to the results I was getting from the Nick collection, the Silver Effects software. And that film simulation is just, you know, so good for black and white photography with its built-in grain and everything. And it just was amazing to me that this was a digital picture straight out of camera and not you know, some post-processed image. And it kind of has a film look to it a little bit.
If I can just fill everyone in, when Ritchie's talking about Acros and Classic Chrome, there's obviously we are looking at the film simulation that comes with the camera, but there's more to this recipe. It's not just that film simulation, but there's more settings that he's using, and it's really different kinds of film that comes from the film days before digital, which is the inspiration behind this, so that images don't look digital, but they have an actual film feel to them. When I first came across reading some articles and seeing images, and then seeing your what you write about these film simulations or images and how you analyze them, I thought, how can he know so much about film? You know, having seen photographs of you, I'm like, he's way too young to have this experience with film. This is
So
this is crazy.
Yeah, it's an interesting story, I think. I was in between high school and college, and I took a road trip with some friends, and I borrowed my dad's Sears 35mm film camera, took a bunch of rolls of film, got back, sent them off to the 1 hour photo lab, and they came back and they were just absolutely awful. They're terrible. So I used that as kind of to push myself forward to become better. So in that freshman year, in that first semester in college, I enrolled in Photography 101 and learned under June Van Cleef, and got in the dark room and developed my own film and printed my own pictures and all that stuff. And I really love film. It's not nearly as convenient as digital, but it's just a wonderful way to capture the world. And I really resisted digital for a long time, and it was probably about 12 years ago or so that I actually first started getting into digital photography. And when that happened, it was kind of like learning photography all over again. There was a big learning curve for digital, but in those days, and even it still carries over now, everybody tells you have to shoot RAW. If you're serious about it, you have to shoot RAW. It took me a while to realize that wasn't true.
Yeah, so we have someone tuning in from Germany. Hello to you as well. Thank you so much for joining. And Latrenia says, I can totally relate to spending hours in post-processing.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are here to change that for you. And okay, we've got another comment here from Stefan saying, Ritchie has saved me countless hours sitting in front of my computer and turned my Fujifilm into a mobile.
That's amazing.
There's Bob saying from London, UK, love your Fuji X weekly site. Thank you for your work here. Thank you, Bob. This is awesome.
I appreciate it. Thanks, Bob.
And DJ Impulse is loving that new Porta 400.
Yeah, that one just came out. It's actually been on the app. Not to get ahead of ourselves, but for subscribers, it's been on there for a little while, but it just came out for everybody. So yeah, that's a fun one.
Yes. Yeah, you're keeping us entertained and always making sure that there's new looks. Renzo Granda says the film simulation is breathtaking.
Wow.
That's awesome. So yeah, just to carry on there. So I was really blown away by your knowledge, and it is absolutely incredible to read you talking about specifics in an image. I will not take away from from everyone enjoying this, so go ahead and read those articles. It's really very fascinating. Here's another image of yours, Ritchie, which I think was again something different in your journey. Don't you want to share with us the background to this image?
Yeah, so this was also early on, and this was I was just kind of playing around with in your Fujifilm camera. If you shoot RAW or RAW plus JPEG, you can reprocess the RAW file, and I was just playing around with that and just taking things a little bit further than I had previously, just really experimenting. And I kind of discovered this look that to me reminded me of like old Kodachromes, like stuff from the early era of Kodachrome, stuff that I'd seen in Arizona Highways magazine. Ansel Adams shot with this Kodachrome that was the earlier one, and it looks different than the later ones. And Barry Goldwater was another one. There was a lot of different photographers. There was a lot of photographers that were hesitant to try color photography back then. Black and white was king. But there were some that were venturous and started using that early version, and it had a different look to it.
Okay, it looks like.
Oh,
Ritchie, are you back there with us? Sorry, you were frozen.
I froze for a second. Okay, yeah, my internet's not always the best, so hopefully everything's fine. But I stumbled across this look, and it really reminded me of just really old Kodachrome slides. So I called it vintage Kodachrome, and it was the first film simulation recipe that was actually modeled after a film, like a specific film. And that kind of opened up the idea to me that, well, if I could do it with that, then I can do it with others. And so I started playing around trying to get the recipes to look like specific films after that. Not all of them are that way, but a lot of the film simulation recipes are modeled after specific films.
So this was really where it all started for you and us as such. So that is really really great to know. So I think we've touched on it a little bit, and clearly we can tell that people are very excited about it. Obviously, I share that sentiment with everyone out there. Can you explain, Ritchie, why the simulations are so popular and becoming more and more popular? It seems like this is really gaining momentum.
So that's an interesting question, and there's a lot of different things, different paths you can go down to try and answer that. I think I read this book. My wife got me for Christmas this old Ansel Adams book on Polaroid photography, and a lot of people don't know that Ansel Adams was really into shooting Polaroids, and some of his famous pictures are actually captured with Polaroid film. And what he called it was one-step photography. So if you're a photographer, there's really two steps. The first step is capturing the picture, and the second step is developing the picture. In the film, it was actually going into like a dark room and being with the chemicals and all that stuff. And in the digital era, it's going into Lightroom and editing your pictures. So that's the two steps. And Lightroom, in today's age, Lightroom can be very intimidating. It can be time consuming. It's a whole skill to learn, and it could be a whole job just to do that. And what Ansel Adams pointed out in his book was that if you take that second step out of it, it opens up photography to so many more people. and makes the process so much more accessible. And so that's what I kind of feel the film simulation recipes are, is a one-step photography, very similar to how Polaroid was when it was introduced, back in the 60s or whenever that was. But the film simulation recipes are having kind of that same effect, opening up to people who don't want to use Lightroom, they don't want to learn it, they don't have it, can't afford it, or it just takes up so much of their time that they would rather kind of step away from it.
Yes, that is fantastic. And we obviously don't want anyone to step away from photography, because photography is such a wonderful thing to have in your life. Here, there's just another comment. Rafis is saying, yeah, digital ISO versus film ISO is like night and day.
Oh, yeah. I remember, and you probably remember this too, like ISO 400 was considered a high ISO film. And in fact, in like the Fujicolor Pro 400H, that's what the H stands for, and there's high ISO, So now in digital, you could go, way high in ISO. I mean, I routinely go up to 6400 and sometimes even beyond that. There's even recipes that go to like 25,600 ISO. So yeah, it's such a night and day difference.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy. And here's another viewer, Annex Simanda, is saying, a lot of love from Sweden. Film simulation increased my desire to take pictures. We'd love to hear it. Thank you so much for
that's another thing. The process not only is saves people time, but it also can be more fun. It makes photography more enjoyable for a lot of people.
Yes, absolutely. Sorry, and Paul Choi is going right into the middle of it all. Thank you so much for your comment, Paul. Paul is, I think he's currently in Ireland, if I'm not mistaken. He is a colleague of mine. He's based in Mauritius, and he would love to know more about the creative process in developing your recipes. Where do you start?
Yeah, so different ones are different. There's some that I started with an actual picture, like a slide, like a film slide, or like a print. And then I've just tried to recreate that look by just messing with the settings. A lot of people use XRAW Studio. I've used XRAW Studio, but mostly I just do it in camera, which is a tedious process, but it works for me. It's what works for me. Other times I'm looking at somebody gives a suggestion or wants a look. Sometimes a recipe comes about because I'm trying to create something and I don't succeed, but I like what I made anyway. Other ones are just really happy accidents. I really just was messing around with the settings and just stumbled across something that looks really good. So it's different, but usually the process is as I go in and I use the Q button to reprocess a picture and to just start playing around. And when I kind of feel like I found something I like, I'll go out and shoot with it and come back and look at those pictures, see how can I refine those to make them even better. And it might take several tries of that to actually come up with a finished recipe. A lot of times, though, it starts with research, looking at examples of the pictures, especially if it's modeled after a specific film. I will go online and find examples. I will see if I have books that have examples. I'll see if I have examples of my own pictures, and that's very helpful. But it's definitely a tedious process. But I've gotten quick at going through the Q menu, and it's amazing how fast when you do something enough times, how quick you get at it. And nowadays, not only can I go through and process a picture in camera very quickly, but I also kind of have an idea of where to start. I could look at something and be like, okay, I think if I do this, it should get me close, and then I'll do it, and it'll be usually pretty close, and then I can just refine it from there. Yeah, that's amazing. You obviously have a lot of experience in the process, but yeah. Here is Duve from the Netherlands, who wants to know which would be your ultimate favorite recipe. This is my ultimate favorite is the Kodak Tri-X 400. It's a black and white recipe, and I wasn't even the one who made it. It was one of my readers. He created it and shared it with me, and I asked, "Can I put this on the website? It's great." And he agreed and was very kind about that. And it's just an amazing film simulation recipe, and it's hard for me. I haven't really made a lot of black and white recipes since that came out because that one's just so good. It is just a wonderful recipe, and people are loving it. People are using it, and it's just really great. And that brings up something that I kind of want to say is that this community, we talk about film simulation recipes, or we talk about you and me or whatever, but this community is just amazing. The Fujifilm community is just the best in photography, I think. And that's you guys out there, that are watching right now.
Well, yeah, there you have it, everyone. You guys are absolutely amazing. We love you. And you can, share a little bit of love with sending us some hearts and a thumbs up if you share those views. We love interacting with the community. Chili says she stopped shooting raw when I discovered Fuji Weekly. Thank you so much for that. And Mark says, shout out from Ogden, love your site, and Fujifilm.
Yeah, right up the road. So that's hometown right there.
All right. Excellent. That's fabulous. Dario says that's exactly the reason why I got into photography. Thanks to your recipes and the one-step workflow. I never liked editing. Yeah, that's it's absolutely amazing. And yeah, it's Ritchie, you say the community is awesome. I totally agree with you. It's just wonderful to be on this journey together. It feels like even you are journeying with the company, with the developments, and it's just really wonderful looking back where it all started and who knows where it's heading. But
that's an amazing thing, and we're all on this journey together. You and me started this journey of the straight out of camera, the live video series, which is I think going to be helpful to a lot of people as we kind of discuss different things related to the Fujifilm camera and helping people. And that's a real passion of mine is being able to help people with their photography in some way. And but also it's a journey with the community. We're all kind of journeying together and becoming better photographers and learning new things. And it's just incredible that we can do that.
Yeah, that is, so I'm super excited about that, and the times when we have spoken and what we have exchanged, you can really hear that you're really in this to share, and you get so much joy out of other people benefiting from this. It's absolutely wonderful. So so just one last question before we dive deeper into this. I wanted to know how close to film the simulations actually really are, since you are the expert in the field.
So it kind of depends on the recipe. Some are definitely a lot closer than others. If you think about, somebody who's making a preset in Lightroom, and they have so many different tools at their disposal to be able to fine tune the image to make it look just like the film. And even then, it's not usually exactly like it. Like you think of like Alien Scan Exposure, which is a very good software. They have a team of people that are experts at fine tuning it. And even then, it's like, well, this kind of looks like the film in this situation, but not in that. And so Fujifilm cameras obviously have a much more limited options for fine-tuning the picture. There's lots of great options, but it's not anywhere near like Lightroom. So you're working with limited resources to try and recreate it, but it's surprising how close you can get. And I've actually had some people share with me where they took pictures with the film simulation recipe and then had the film camera with the film that the recipe is intended to mimic, and they shot them side by side. and they shared the results with me, and it was amazing, like how close sometimes these are to the film. There's even one time I couldn't tell the difference. I couldn't pick which was the film and which was the film simulation recipe. And some of the recipes were that's how they were created, was putting a camera with the recipe, or with the Fujifilm camera on a tripod, and right next to it, a film camera on a tripod, and comparing the pictures side by side to fine tune it. I've had several people in the community, readers of the Fuji X Weekly website, help me out with that. And, it's been a great resource. The community has been a great resource to me in helping me better fine tune the recipes. And the newer cameras have more JPEG options than the older cameras. So I think with the newer cameras, it's easier to get closer to mimicking the actual film than the older ones. But it's amazing how close they are sometimes.
That is really awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that insight. It's obviously a lot of studying from your side to know what you're looking for, what directions to head into. But just the fact that whether it is an actual film look that used to exist, or if it's just a really good looking JPEG, is what we're all about to discover. And I'm really looking forward to introducing you all to this. So we've spoken about the app a little bit already, so I just wanted to fill everyone in who's maybe not aware of it, that, like you explained, you created an app that has all your film simulations that you've created in the app, and it shows what kind of settings you need to put your camera in to achieve the look, and you give sample images so that people know what kind of look these different film simulations achieve. And it's a free app. It's very generous of you to put that out there into the world. And there are tons of recipes to choose from. But you can download it from the App Store and the Google Play Store for free. But there is obviously a benefit. There is a subscription version there that gives you quite a few benefits. You get, like Ritchie just mentioned earlier, you get a few extra simulations, and there's also different features in it, which we will look at a little bit later. If you don't have the app yet, definitely download it, because it will make your journey so much better.
Yeah, I wanted to make the app free. The recipes are all free on the website, and I wanted the app to be a free resource. But there's a pretty significant expense and a lot of work that goes into creating it. So I wanted a way for people who wanted to support the app and Fuji X Weekly, that they had an option that they could do, and to make it more fun for them, and unlock some features that gives people the best experience. So if you want to support what's going on, other projects that are in the works that will help the community, it's a great way to do it. But if you just want a free resource, it's absolutely free, and I'm happy to provide that resource for people. I hope it's helpful to so many.
Yeah, that is awesome. So yeah, I absolutely love it. And once you start using it, you will realize how really it helps your journey. We wanted to this evening. We wanted to take the opportunity to share with you what we actually are planning, what we have in mind with our straight out of camera show. So we will go and explain the details just now. It is a monthly live show where Ritchie and I will, have a platform for you so that you can enjoy this journey one step at a time. We will look at one recipe per show. And we will ask you, because this is for you, we want to encourage you, we want to help you along the way. And, the community is so good, like we said, and, together we're stronger. So shoot for a month, shoot in one recipe, and then share and upload your images. We will provide a link so that we can, share that in the community. And it's about seeing what you achieve with images and how much you enjoy it. And then
I'm really looking forward to that part of seeing what the community does with the recipes and seeing the pictures that the people out in the audience, using these recipes are able to come up with them. I mean, to me, that's going to be amazing. I'm really looking forward to that.
Yes, so we will make a point in every month's show to have a showcase. This is not a contest. It's merely looking at, hey, look how I use this recipe, and this is the results I got. And sharing in the journey that we're all embarking on. And we will, have a discussion about it and looking at the images. And again, we are directing this at everyone who's watching. We will look forward to your comments and or your submissions. And to sweeten the deal just a little bit, we will have a lucky draw that we've thrown in there. Ritchie being so generous and making a subscription available to one lucky viewer per month. And
so if you don't have a subscription, and maybe you could win one. So
yes, exactly. So if you want to participate, you can upload your images here. You can take a screenshot of this, of the QR code, or use the link directly. It will take you to an upload site. You may have to, when you follow the link, you may have to make sure that your security settings permission you to follow through to the link. So that's just a bit of a technicality, but it's definitely a link that works. And we are looking forward to uploads, and we will not use your images for anything other than to share them in the upcoming show. And before I go into this month's film simulation, I just wanted to say that the show is, at the moment, it will be a monthly show so that you have enough time to really get familiar with the film recipe and see what situations the simulation or the recipe, the look that it gives you is best used in. And just to play around with it a little bit and get a couple of different images. And we all know we're all very busy, so we don't always get to shoot all the time. So you have 4 weeks to really get to familiarize yourself with the settings that you're shooting in and to experiment a bit with it. You are more than welcome to obviously reach out to the community at any point and share images, ask questions, so that we, get a lot of conversation starting and see what you're all coming up with. So for this first episode, I think I kind of rushed right into it and chose the Kodachrome II film simulation because it was, in my case, it was love at first sight. And I think I'm not alone with that. And it's absolutely beautiful. So Ritchie, do you want to maybe also share a little bit your thoughts on this film simulation?
Sure. So Kodachrome II, the film simulation Kodachrome II, it's intended for X-Trans 3 cameras. It can be used on the XT3 and XT30 as well. And you can use it even on the newer cameras, but you have to choose the size of the grain, and I would choose small. Then there's also a different version for X-Trans 2 cameras as well. So there's plenty of options depending on your camera. You can make this work. But it is intended to mimic the look of Kodachrome, the second era of it, and that was from 1960 to, I believe, 1974. So a lot of the classic color street photographers from that era were shooting on Kodachrome, and this is intended to look like that. And in creating it, I have my grandparents' old Kodachrome slides from that era, and I was able to use those as a resource to really help me create this look in camera. And I enjoy it a lot. I use this one, and it just produces really good results that resemble classic slide film from that era.
Yeah, I also absolutely love it. Like I said, it resonated with me straight away. So I thought, let's get this party started with this one. This image here on the screen is one of those reasons why I fell in love with it so much. That was taken. And one of my first experience of really going, yeah, this is definitely really just straight out of camera. I did not do anything with it. I downloaded it onto my phone app because I couldn't wait to share it. And then I looked at it, I'm like, well, this is, there's nothing else that I would like to do with it afterwards. So that made me hungry for more. And I hope that all your viewers out there will have a similar experience if you haven't done so already, because as we've seen in the comments, there are a lot of converted fans out there already. So we are really looking forward to that. But there's another image that we've got that's Ritchie's. So over to you, Ritchie.
Yeah, so this is actually just from my, I captured this from my front porch. That's the view I have basically, but I use the Fujifilm 100 to 400 millimeter lens and on my XE4, and that was the Kodachrome II film simulation, and it's unedited. I mean, that is straight out of the camera right there. And I mean, you can see with just the light how dramatic it is, but how nice it renders the colors and the storms. There's a lot of slide film had a very limited dynamic range compared to like digital cameras. So it was easy to blow out highlights that have blocked up shadows and that kind of stuff. It was very common in that time frame. Nowadays, people want to edit to where like you see you don't have those limitations. It is kind of a phenomenon of digital photography, but this harkens back to that time when the dynamic range wasn't so large, and you would get these dramatic pictures.
Yeah, so good. Ooh, I love the feel to it. You can really you can feel the weather and what it was like.
Yeah.
So I absolutely love this. Yeah, this is very nice. And here is another, one of my firsts that I really enjoyed, just as it is out of camera, and I just really like.
It's a beautiful shot.
And it makes it so easy, and it's such a satisfying experience. I must say, some of the viewers said that you really put the soul back into photography, and this is what it felt a little bit like to me, because just going back in my journey, for all of us, like these last 1.5 years haven't been easy, and for working photographers, especially when you call yourself an event photographer, have not been so very easy. And so it's, you then get busy with yourself and with other things, and trying to make it from one day to the next kind of stuff. And I've really been missing just my day-to-day photography that puts so much soul into my everyday life. And these first images that I achieved really, got me hungry again to pick up my camera and to do more of that. So thanks to you, Ritchie.
I appreciate it.
So not to keep you guys waiting any longer, we would like to dive into this. So how this is going to work is that the Kodachrome II is the recipe for the month. And we would like to now get you set up to make sure that you're ready to shoot, that you have 4 weeks to enjoy this. I haven't spoken to Ritchie about this prior to the show, but I wanted to make sure that your camera is set up properly so that you really get the results straight out of camera and they resemble exactly what you are looking at. And so there are just a few settings that I want you to double check in camera to make sure, apart from actually loading the parameters for the recipe. So because your EVF and your LCD have variable brightness settings that you can put them on, and some of them are on auto by default. So I wanted to just make sure that you go into these settings and put them onto 0 so that your camera doesn't vary the exposure, so that you get a reliable result with your JPEG. There's also this wonderful menu setting that's called Preview Exposure of White Balance in manual mode, which you should set to exposure and white balance to get the right result. And then lastly, and most importantly, you need to make sure that your settings are on a natural live view off, or in older models or other models, your preview pick effect is on. So that is probably the most important setting, because that means your very popular use, what you see is what you get, is exactly this. So yeah, in different camera models, it's got different expressions, but it's either natural live view or the preview pick effect, which needs to be on or off. So you can take a screenshot of this just to make sure that you don't forget to adjust these settings, or just to double check that your camera is set correctly. Is there anything you want to add to this, Ritchie?
Yeah, I was going to say, even if you didn't do that, it would still, the camera would still record the JPEG correctly. But those settings are good. Those are great tips, and that will help a lot of people not have to kind of, like you said, you get what you see, and if you're not seeing it, you don't know what you're going to get until you look at it later. So it's better to have those settings programmed in, and then you get to see right away exactly. Well, as you're taking the picture, you get to see what you get, which is a great thing. It's a wonderful thing of digital photography. Back in the film days, you had to wait for it to be developed before you knew exactly what you had. But now, even before you take the picture, you know exactly what you're getting.
Yes, exactly. So you're absolutely right to point that out, Ritchie. The camera will take the picture. It's just you will not see it until you have taken the picture. But because the camera gives you this amazing experience of knowing exactly what your picture looks like before you actually take it, that you should, take the camera up on this. Mm-hmm. We've got a comment from Craig here quickly. He says, can you search the simulations by camera model? I have a few different models. I think he's talking about the experience in the app. So do you want to answer that?
On the app, if you are a patron subscriber, then yes, you can. You can sort by, you can filter by camera model, sensor generation. You can also do by the film simulation it's based on, or sort by color versus black and white. So there's different options to narrow it down to what will work with your camera, and also the look that you're trying to get.
Yeah, so we will, Craig, we will have a look at the app just now, so we can show you there's lots of different filters and options. So it's really cool to narrow down exactly what you want to get in the app. So let's head on over to these. Here you can see the settings on the phone. On the app. So this is the actual recipe that we will be loading onto the camera. And I will show you on the app on my actual phone, I will show you what this looks like, just so that you get an idea. And Craig, your question was asked at exactly the right moment. So let me just quickly connect my phone so that you can all see it. Okay. So here now you are looking at my phone, and I'm glad that I thought of cleaning up my screen before I started. What my phone normally looks like. So this is the app here on the left, and when you open it, it jumps straight into your recipes, and you will see that I have already favored some of the apps that you can do, and then they will move to the top of the menu, and I have the rest of the recipes sorted by alphabet at the moment, but you can sort them by newest first. And then here in the top, you can also see that there's a filter, and that's for you, Craig. You can then filter by sensor or by camera, and then you can also select which camera you want to look at. So, for example, if you have an X-T2, you can then filter all the simulations and recipes that you can use with your camera, and you can also go by more simulations, or you can go by color. By color and black and white. So there is loads and loads of filters to choose from, and then you just click done, and then you can see that there is a universe of recipes for you to choose from, so you're not going to get bored in a hurry. Sorry, I just see this symbol here now. There's like this lens symbol here on some of the recipes. That means that it is a subscription recipe that is available to you. It's early access, for example.
Yeah, so those recipes, they'll eventually be for everybody, but the people who are subscribers, just like a reward for your support, is that those ones you get to use first. Just a fun way to do it, and eventually those get put on the website, available to everybody as one replaces it. So there'll be a different one. Probably that particular recipe that you showed, the Porto 200, which is not a typo. There's a story behind that, but it'll eventually, probably in the next few months, be free for everybody, and something else will be in there as a reward, early access recipe for the patrons.
Yes, absolutely. That's fabulous. And then when you go into the recipe, you can obviously see all the settings. And what I love in particular is that there's also a link to the post on your website. So you can read up on how you created it, or some other story that you share in this, which, gives more context to it. And I think that is particularly nice.
Yeah, and sometimes there's also like tips and tricks, or like, the recipe will say this, but also you could try this little slight variation, or it'll have things like that. Every recipe is a little different, but sometimes there's like little things that could help you, get it exactly as you want it. Little tips and tricks, and all the story behind it, maybe the story behind the film it's based off of, and stuff like that. And there's also more sample pictures, because there's only 5, I believe, for each recipe in the app. But there's a lot more if you go to the website, and you can probably, you can view them bigger by going to the website as well.
Yes, so it's definitely worth peeping in there. Like I said, a world of information. So I would like to now, if you're all ready for that, and I would like Ritchie and I to now go to an actual camera and show you how to load the recipe, just to make sure, in case you haven't done so before, that you know how to do that. And we have an X-T3 here connected at the moment to load this recipe. And I would like to ask you, Ritchie, if you don't mind, to talk me through how you would load Kodachrome II onto this camera, if that's okay with you.
Sure. And there's a couple ways to do it, and depending on what camera you have, there's just different ways. So this one here, you can go through, for example, starting with the film simulation, selecting classic chrome, which, it's already there, then going down to grain and putting it to weak.
So you are talking me through this now, so I'll just adjust the settings as we go.
Sure. Yeah, that would be... color chrome effect will be off. When I created this recipe, color chrome effect didn't exist because it was intended for X-Trans 3, but I would leave it off even though it's an option on this one. White balance is set to auto, but we have to put in the shift. So we'll want to arrow over. And this is a trick that a lot of people don't know, is I always get this question, well, how do you set the shift? And it's just you arrow, once you get into that white balance menu, you arrow to the right and it pops up. So then you want to put +3 red, which is to the right, and then -4 blue, which is down. Yeah.
There we go. And then we press OK. Right.
So now the white balance is set.
Yep.
And we'll go to the next page. Dynamic range set to 200. And that affects the ISO. A lot of people, when they're first starting out, don't realize that it does that. So it'll set on the X-T3, it'll set, what is it, 320 ISO. 320, I think, is the minimum ISO you need to use DR200. On the X-Trans 3 cameras, I think it's ISO 400 is the minimum. And this goes back to that, what we were talking about earlier about how, ISO is so different on digital versus film. ISO 400 is, basically a low ISO film, or a low ISO for digital, but in film it was a high ISO. So it's crazy. Anyway.
Yeah.
So next would be...
I'm sure there is, sorry. There is a lot more behind all these settings. And I think as we go through month after month, we will, add more knowledge to everything. It's just like tonight, we want to, just get you started. So obviously, if there's specific questions you want to ask, you're more than welcome to ask them now in the comments, but you're also welcome to ask them, even if you watch this after this show has been live and you still want to ask a question, you're more than welcome to do that, or reach out to any of us on our socials, and we will make sure that we get your questions answered. Sorry, Ritchie, we can carry on now. We've set our dynamic range to 200.
Yep, and we're going to leave derange priority off, go down to highlight, put +1. And this sets the curve, for the highlights and shadows, the tone curve. Put shadow at 2. And then color is -1.
Sorry. Yep.
Sharpness +1. Kodachrome was a pretty sharp film. Noise reduction, I like that set low, so you can go to -3. If you want to do -4, that's okay too. The recipe calls for -3. The long exposure noise reduction, if you're doing a long exposure, that can be a good thing, but on or off, it's your choice. And then I think that's pretty much everything. Yeah. The exposure compensation is just kind of to get you in the right direction. You generally want it a little bit brighter than the camera is going to meter it. And if you remember, we have shadow set to +2, so the shadow is going to be a little darker. So by brightening up the exposure, it's going to lift those just a little bit. But it's not intended to be like a hard and fast rule.
but just kind of a guide to get you in the general direction, and then each picture should be judged individually.
Okay, cool. So now that we've got those settings in the camera,
should we go back? There's another way to do this that I wanted to show people, if you don't mind, if we have time.
Can we save it and then go back to another version? How
Sure.
you save that?
Yeah.
So because these settings are now loaded, but if you don't save them, then
Yeah, as soon as you change something, it's changed.
So you can then head on over to, you can see I've got some custom settings here already, but then you can go and save these settings.
Yep.
And the trick is to press the display back button in order to trigger this, to actually save these settings. If you just press OK before you are here, then it will forget. I'm not quite sure of the logic behind that, but anyway, so we will save now, and then the settings are set on the menu. But let's go over and see which way you would recommend to load this recipe, Ritchie.
Okay, so press the Q button. Now press and hold the Q button.
Okay, there we go.
And that brings up that. And so then you can just go to your custom, say custom 5, because it's already in custom 4.
Yeah, oopsie.
Or custom 6, it doesn't matter, whichever one.
Yeah.
And then you select that. And then you would enter it in the same way that we demonstrated, but it kind of takes out the step of having to go into the edit, save, custom menu, and save current settings, because you just went straight to this menu. So it's a little shortcut. Yeah.
Yes. Perfect. Awesome. Let's do that in future.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And that's all there is to it. It's pretty straightforward. And I recommend you load this to your camera and use it a lot.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing everybody's results. I can't wait to see what everybody does.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. So on that note, remember to take a screenshot of this link and the QR code so that you can share your images with us. We are super keen to see what you all come up with and what you create with this recipe. And remember that as soon as you upload an image, we will get your name from your upload, and that way you will enter a draw and stand a chance to win a subscription to the awesome app. So it's definitely worthwhile participating.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun, I think. It's going to be a great time.
Yeah, so I can't wait to also embark on this journey. And I'm very glad that we are starting off with my favorite. So I have a fantastic month ahead of me.
And I'm looking forward to, the future episodes, not only doing different, film simulation recipes, but just also helping people with their cameras and their questions, and just getting people to dive into the menus and stuff. I think it's going to be very helpful to a lot of people.
Well, yes, exactly. So this is what it's at. Please take a screenshot of this to make sure that you know where to upload your images to. We will share this link also in the comments, and I think over the next 4 weeks there will be, don't hold back with questions or with comments. You're welcome to share whatever it is that you're producing, and we will get this party started, and looking forward to a lot of months ahead. And this is only the beginning. I think we're in this for the long run.
Yep.
And we can't wait to connect with you and to communicate with you and to grow this awesome Fujifilm community.
Yeah. So second Thursday of every month, be here.
Yes. Tell Siri to remind you, and we will make sure on all our socials that we also send you reminders to make sure that you don't miss out. And if you have, and if you're watching this now after the fact, I'm glad that you still managed to watch this episode, and we look forward to seeing you on future episodes. Stefan says this is great. Thank you. Just becoming a very grateful patron.
Oh, well, thank you. That's awesome. Thank you for your support too.
Yes, absolutely. We couldn't. Well, none of us would be here without you, Ritchie. So it's thanks to you for all of this. It's absolutely amazing. We're all very grateful. Sorry, and there's Tujas just asking, could you give the link here? We will share the link in the comments to make sure that you all know where to go and where to upload images to you. Paul Choi says definitely food for JPEG thoughts. Very interesting.
I love that. We're talking about film simulation recipes, and it's food for thought.
Yeah, very, very smart. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Well, Ritchie, thank you so much for your time. It's been absolutely phenomenal.
Well, thank you. This is going to be a really neat project that we're doing, and I look forward to all the future episodes. And I want to say thank you to everybody that's been watching, and just your participation in this is so much appreciated. And it's because of you that we're doing this. And I hope you found something interesting or helpful, or at least entertaining. And look forward to seeing you next month. And thanks, Nathalie, for having me on and doing this project together with me. And we're just I'm just super excited about all of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I can only second that, Ritchie. It's really awesome. I feel like a kid in a candy store, and I can't contain myself. I'll grab my camera just now, and I hope we were able to share in our enthusiasm with everyone. So I think it's time to say good night to everyone, from my side at least, because it's past dinner time by now here. Ritchie's day is now, getting started, or you're heading into the second half. So wherever you've been watching from, thank you so much for joining us. It's been absolutely phenomenal, and I can't wait to do it again next month. We will see you again, like we said, in a month's time. Our next episode, as we said, the second Thursday of every month, which in August is the 12th of August. So we will see you then. And up until then, happy creating. And it's goodbye from me for now.
Goodbye.
Bye, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us.